This past couple of weeks have been inundated with security-related matters. As we speak, the committee in the United States Congress are deliberating on the classification of Nigeria as a country of particular concern regarding those claims about Christian genocide in the country. But let's talk about the federal government's concern about insecurity domestically. We heard from the minister talking about raising the security level to its highest. We've seen developments in your home state, Kwara. We've seen developments in Kebbi, the killing of a brigade commander in Borno, and a host of other atrocities that have happened over the last couple of weeks. Against the backdrop of what has been happening the last few years, what is your 2 cents about where we are as a country regarding our management of security? And I say I'm talking about the government's management of Nigeria's insecurity.
You see, while insecurity is not peculiar to Nigeria alone, but the numbers of ungoverned areas exceeds the numbers of governed areas. There are certain remotest part of this country you go to, you don't even find outposts of the police, talk more of divisional headquarters. And same thing extends to presence of DSS, security and civil defense, and host of others. What is happening now goes to laxity, weakness, and negligence. Most of the highly and well-trained...
On whose part?
At the part of the higher echelons of the security agencies, because in fairness to President and Commander-in-Chief, most of the logistics and other things that needed to be given, they've been given. But the issues are, once you are trained to do certain job, and you attach godfatherism, nepotism, favoritism. Let me even tell you one thing. During personnel parades in NDA, there are best cadets that get presidential peeping, accolades, and what have you. Those guys are not sent to battlefield. What they do, they return them. Maybe is this and this to chief of this and this to GOC, which ought not to be. They got these accolades because they have certain skills they need to display. So first of all, if we must succeed against the North State actors, we must bring in this best crop of people. Then again, we've advocated for establishment of permanent security structures. What happens to establishing MOPO squadrons of counter-terrorism units, special forces of the police, then others of the armed forces, DSS and waters? Shamefully, these states in Zamfara, these areas in Kebbi, Niger and waters, if you go there, you can hardly find well-established squadron of mobile police, talk more of military cantonment. Where you find them sometimes are developed areas, state capitals and what have you. And here and there, police that have the constitutional role of internal security are attaching their mobile police officers, counter-terrorism officers, special forces to governors, ministers, even people that don't have the constitution. Today, you see managing director of parastatal, oil company, banks, going with routine of mobile police officers. Why? These officers must be withdrawn to take role and charge. You see, these ones you see Air Force and Army doing, they are just complementing the effort of the Nigerian police. With police having the larger specialized squads, they are not living up to expectation because funding is also their problem. Even with the little and meager budgetary allocation, it's been swallowed by some pythons at higher echelon, because the little they give to the, even though it remains allegation, it's been swallowed. So the issues now are, let the two chambers of National Assembly give police adequate funding so that they can live up to expectation. Then there must also be supervision. There is no law that says because you are a major general, you are commissioner of police, OIG, you cannot go to Wasagu, you cannot go to Rijau, you cannot go to Kayama, you cannot go to Maigateri, you cannot go to Ilo in Kebbi State to supervise. All most of them do is let Oga, Mr. President, know that we are doing the job. When Mr. President is traveling, it is then we have best well-kitted security. You see what they call route lining. Mobile police is here, gas brigades is here, road safety is here, what have you. We want to see these things in remotest part of the country.
Do you think our armed forces are still reactionary when dealing with Nigeria's complex security demands, whether internally or externally? I mean, the Kebbi incident, for instance, we've seen the Chief of Army Staff visit the area, understandably given new directives to the troops to recover the girls couple of days later, we saw what happened in Kwara. And there are a host of other incidents that are still developing. I mean, over the last 48 hours, attacks in Sokoto, attacks in Katsina, attacks in Zamfara, for instance. There are multiple security cases, issues, attacks springing up every week, day in, day out. Are we still reactionary in the approach to managing this issue?
You see, when you have shortage of manpower, this is what happened. What is the numerical strength of members of Nigerian Army and Air Force that are operating under Operation Fansan Yamma, covering the Northwest, compared to these Lakurawa terrorists, Bello Turji boys, Dogo Gide boys? Don't forget, Yauri area girls' school was once attacked. In one of the graduation ceremony in Kayama local government 2 years ago, I think that is unique schools, I did call for protection of schools across the country. Even if the police cannot do it, what is the job of Nigerian security and civil defense? They have armed squad, agro rangers. The only way you find them is even becoming orderlies to local government chairman. So in all the security agencies, they have their negligence. And this is the time for them to also extend equality in protection. Same way you protect governors, Mr. President, diplomatic community and others should be extended to the remotest part of the country. Right. The poor people in Nigeria are not getting adequate protection. I will give you the most shameful thing. We have Kanji Dam, which is the largest dam in Africa. Of recent, from Mokwa to Kanji, around Ibi, they abducted Lakura terrorists, abducted people till date they've not gotten the rest. There was a time Lakura terrorists were moving. We got the intel. We told some security agencies around Ibeto and Auna, do you know, a military officer argued with me. How did you get to know? I said there is what you call ownership, involvement, discharge of responsibility by communities. Some inhabitants whom we enlightened called me and gave me this privileged information. Do you know later it came out to be reality? The same thing when Mahmud terrorists struck in Kayama. The Kwara State Police Command, through its spokesperson, came to say nothing like Mahmud terrorist invasion. Later, it happened where GOC 2nd Division and the governor had to go. Then this incumbent chief of defense staff, Oloyede, as chief of army staff, them had to go to Ilori and give 1 month ultimatum. So the issues I'm also saying here, sometimes they don't also work with civil intelligence information given to them. Sometimes before you even get across. Of recent, I was going to FCT DSS command. I'm used to going to Yellow House, that's the DSS secretary Asfo Drive, with no restrictions. From the gate, the officer was telling, because when I go, I don't introduce myself, that I must call whom I was going to. If that can happen to me in Abuja, what more of a rural dweller who has privileged information to the division? Today, you go to most police division headquarters, they fence it from the gate. The station guards will say, who are you? Who are you going to see? It shouldn't be so. Even while you are afraid of attacks, you should have your own mechanism. You should be public relation oriented. So a lot of them even send some civil populace who wants to discharge their ownership involvement away. Right. Because when you are not someone that comes with maybe one jeep, or you are looking sophisticated, or you are disguising, they just see you as an outcast, which ought not to be. Personality is not by dress, it's not by the SUV you bring. Sometimes some of us can disguise to also know there are levels of vigilance and preparedness.
Talking about the manpower issue, we understand that the Nigerian Army is making plans to recruit 24,000 people to bolster their ranks. This is against the backdrop of a request from the Nigerian Senate to the President to recruit 100,000 Army personnel. Do you think the numbers will make a difference if we're able to at least boost the manpower issue that we have with the fight against insecurity?
Yes, the recruitment can boost the manpower strength, but beyond that, what about the welfare? What about the gadgets? We have to kind of line down somewhere, even though they said American law, because American government sold it to Nigeria, government to government, that they had to go by the laid down laws. An Alpha jet can go below 1 hour. It has to come back to base. But a Tucano can go for 4 hours. So what is the essence of spending those monies? When you make these recruitments, you need to train them. Are they properly trained? Are they given the wherewithal in terms of welfare? Officers are even, to some extent, I call Yoruba language, badu enjoyment. if you go to where these other ranks of Air Force, Navy, Army, Police, and others, you shed tears. Let's take Kaduna, for instance. Go to Kotogo Barracks. Go to 81 Barracks. Go to Kalapazin. Go to Training and Doctrine Command, other ranks barracks in Mina. Go to Abakba. Go to 101 Battalion in Kanja, others. You shed tears. So beyond just that, you need to also provide certain things, because once you want to boost their morale, it's not welfare driven, they don't have insurance and hazard. Sometimes they feel, if I now go and get disabled, who takes care of my family? When you go and get disabled, you come 6 months, they give you eviction notice. So I think there should also be welfare packages, then training on use of gadgets. What also happened to use of drones? They should be properly trained. You see, there are certain areas where you don't even need to take land army or police to. Air Force alone can do it. Okay, when they were overwhelming the land army in Borno, where this brigadier general was killed, it was the Air Force that went for the rescue, air raid. So air onslaught should be 70%, because when you are dealing with these non-state actors that have numerical strength, the ground forces cannot withstand them sometimes.
Do you believe that the Nigerian Armed Forces is not operating at full capacity?
Well, I will share that sentiment that they are not operating 70%, because the Nigerian Armed Forces that are trained in NDA, Depot Air Force Training School, Naval Training School, or whatever, were they to be carrying out the onslaught 70%. 1 month is enough to clear these non-state actors. These are unskilled people.
Okay, let's talk about specific events of the week. Kwara and Kebbi. The attack in Maga, and then the eventual attack on a church in Eruku town of Ekiti, a local government area of the state. Talk to me about what we have learned now. We understand that regarding the church attack, the CAC church attack, the bandits or kidnappers are demanding 100 million naira ransom. The girls, no update so far, but it's looking like the Audi case for the most part, which is the second time this has happened in Kebbi. What do you make of these areas that are being singled out for some of these attacks? The Kwara State government's response is to shut down schools across 4 local government areas within that part of the state, which may not necessarily be a long-term solution. But how do you see the encroachment of some of these attacks, especially in the north central, and how it has been spreading over the last few months?
Because they know that certain areas are ungoverned areas where you don't have even police outposts, talk more of others. When a robbery happened, what happened? It was followed suit by establishment of Mopo Squadron. Since then, have you heard of anything like that? In most places in Kwara, you find dilapidated outposts or divisional headquarters. What they do mostly is Fulani, farmers, resolution, dispute resolution, and all sorts of other things. So it also brings to bear that our government, particularly security agencies, needed to be prepared at all times through establishment of permanent security structures. Let me tell you, like Gidam Mantau, under Malumfashi local government area of Kazana State, we are there to be a divisional headquarters or Mopo Squadron that have sophisticated officers, weapons, and other things, operational vehicles. It wouldn't have happened. Sometimes knowing that these establishments exists scare them away. So what I want to tell the federal government now is, in conjunction with the Senate Standing Committees on Security and National Intelligence, Police, Subcommittee on Army, Subcommittee on Navy, Air Force, and most of other things, let them carry out total oversight, joint oversight from the executive and the National Assembly. Areas where most security establishments are lacking, let them commence building. Like I told you, the police have a lot to do. With their larger specialized squads, their presence is not being felt in most cases. I visited Civil Defense Office in Kainji, New Busa. I laughed. The utility vehicle their commander was driving was doing baga, no tires, no good things. Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps has what we call agro rangers. Agro rangers are trained for forest operations. They are not there. So it is not to wear a well-starched uniform and be oppressing people. Go and show your strength. Thank God Mr. President has consented to forest guards, what have you. Let them also be mixed up. Then again, vigilantes, civilian joint task force, let government also have certain appropriation to be made for them because they have been complementing the efforts of the security agencies.
If you have to answer the question with a yes or no, are you confident that the government is taking the right steps towards addressing some of these gaps that you've been talking about?
Well, they are doing it theoretically because till date I've not seen numbers of Mopo squadrons that were built, those of counterterrorism or cantonments. If, of course, they are doing that, let the Minister of Police Affairs, Defense and Interior bring numbers of Mopo squadrons that have been built since we've been advocating, those of counterterrorism units. Of recent, shamefully, Mr. President visited some of the training schools of the police. He was disappointed and ordered that certain steps should be taken. That is to tell you, most of them only stay, attend meetings, and live in a lot of remote areas on their own.
Right. So I guess the answer is no then.
Absolutely.
Okay. Salihu, Mahmud, as always, a pleasure. Thank you so much for the analysis. I appreciate you very much for stopping by this evening. And that is a wrap on tonight's edition of the program. Thank you, Moskale, for joining us on Daily Politics. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the program live at 8 p.m. Until next time, I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. From myself and the rest of the team, thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon.